Hello and welcome to Team PokeMart, your one-stop shop for things that you need to stop and or shop for. And as you can see, valued customers, unfortunately, yes, our power is still out. Never fear though, because upper management are on the case, calling in some favors to have that problem fixed ASAP. However, as the sun sets on yet another horrible workday, Ditto and I have begun to notice that this place is actually a little spooky without the lights on. So to take our minds off all of the shadows and probable axe murderers that are certainly lurking in the store as we speak, we're going to go through the top 10 ghost Pokemon. Because out of all of the different types that exist, the ghost type is the most varied and creative, with some drawing inspiration from classic horror imagery or various spooky folktales from all around the regions. And in fact, we even have our own Kanto folktale about an evil haunter who haunts the local PokeMart and will devour your dreams unless you've pressed the subscribe button, thus allowing you to stay up to date with all of our latest stock, but also remain in the realm of the living. He's also annoying, very annoying. Stop that, haunter, you're embarrassing yourself. Now today's ranking will be based on very complex and mysterious ritual that I have undertaken and incorporates a combination of factors including design, creepiness, uniqueness, and any other arbitrary features that I deem necessary to make a decision. So let's do the thing and start with number 10, which is Ratom. And Ratom is one of the more friendly neighborhood ghosts which you can find just about anywhere, such as invading your bike, your Pokedex, your phone, and even going through your internet browsing history, which makes me just a little bit nervous because I look at some pretty weird stuff. But Ratom is obviously not just a pure ghost and is instead an electric ghost dual type and has a curious love of possessing the motors of household appliances. And no, they don't exactly scream ghost in either a literal or metaphorical sense, given that they are not exactly terrifying. In fact, they're more wildly frustrating and annoying than anything. Additionally, in a bit of a weird twist, when Ratom possess different appliances, it will change form and type, such as the electric grass mow Ratom when possessing lawnmowers. But this is very awkward because these forms are no longer ghost type, so despite its spark of versatility, Ratom can proceed no further on this list. No, Ratom, I've made up my mind. You're disqualified and I don't want to hear your excuses. So moving on to number 9, which is Trevent. Lurching menacingly into the number 9 spot, we have Trevent, the ghost grass phantom tree Pokemon, which has a great design, instantly evoking the classic horror imagery of haunted woods filled with gnarled and twisted trees. This Pokemon definitely falls quite cleanly into the creepy branch of ghost Pokemon with its long claw-like hands, single cycloptic red glowing eye, and a dark gaping void for a mouth. And also it has spider legs because that's what this already terrifying tree needed, the ability to scuttle around unnaturally, which would effectively make Trevent a grass ghost bug type. And yes, I know that spiders are not bugs, but Pokemon doesn't care about biology. Just ask Spinarak, Ariados, and Galvantula, all of whom can make like a Trevent and off. However, while Trevent may have a great classic horror design, a haunted zombie tree isn't anything exceptionally unique. So for now, Trevent remains steadily rooted in the number 9 spot. And so in number 8, we have Chandelier lighting up this position, a classy fire ghost type Pokemon, and the final evolved form of the rather cute Litwick and Lampent. Chandelier though resembles a glorious full-size chandelier complete with eerie purple spectral flames. And it really does have this beautiful gothic feel to it with its striking black and purple design, crowned with yellow-eyed highlights. It certainly is one of the more elegant ghosts I've come across, and Chandelier quite obviously has its life in order, which is certainly much more than we can say for our own ghost here haunter. I mean, why would you choose to haunt a PokeMart? I mean, this place is already about as close to hell as reality can achieve, so surely there's a nicer location to spend your time. But no, you insist on annoying me. And just as a side note, it is worth mentioning that Chandelier is a great example of a Pokemon based on everyday objects done right. Unlike certain cogs I could mention. Yes, you clink, clank, and clink clangs and kink and clangs and S&M cogs. But in addition to looking just fantastic, Chandelier is known for luring, hypnotizing, and otherwise drawing in unsuspecting victims, both humans and Pokemon. However, it seems that Chandelier is at least decent enough to lure victims into a nice mansion before burning and consuming their spirits. So how courteous of it at the very least. Number 7, Decudueye. Next up in number 7, we have Decudueye, another grass ghost type Pokemon with a large, brooding avian silhouette, donning mask-like facial markings and a leafy green hood that partially obscures its own face from view. How very mysterious of this spooky bird. While this large owl Pokemon might seem pretty far from the image of a stereotypical ghost, I mean, it's not even wearing a sheet. Owls have been frequently linked with death and the supernatural in the past, plus whenever you're walking in the woods at night to add to the scary atmosphere, you will often hear an owl going hoot hoot hoot. So look, I will admit that it is definitely not the most sinister of ghosts around, but Decudueye exudes more of a cool and stylish ghost vibe that I find very appealing. It also earns extra points just for the fact of mystery, an essential trait for any ghost. For what is it exactly that Decudueye is hiding under that hood? Some sort of horrible injury that led to its tragic death and spurs its own supernatural quest for vengeance beyond the grave? Or is it just a particularly introverted owl that doesn't like people looking at it? We, foolish mortals, will never know. But something pretty massive must have happened to turn this delightful little rowlet into the bitter hooded ghost assassin that is Decudueye. Number 6, Alolan Marowak. And here we find ourselves a fire ghost type. And basic Marowak is already a bit of a hotspot for ghost stories, but Alolan Marowak actually adopts the typing, choosing to go full spiritual with its ritualistic design. And I do have to admit, unlike some other regional variants I could mention, Meowth, Tata, oh, what a bad cough I have, but this fired up Marowak certainly does something to earn its existence. Interestingly, this Marowak may also have been inspired by night marchers, ghosts from Hawaiian mythology that traditionally carry torches and are feared by the living. Marowak is also a pretty perfect choice for a ghost variant, as it is already high up on the creepy scale, as Cubone is well known for wearing the skull of its own mother, and as it evolves this becomes fused to Marowak's head permanently, which I suppose means that the next Cubone child would be wearing the skull of its mother, which is fused from the skull of its grandmother, which in and of itself is also partially formed from the skull of its great-grandmother, and so on and so forth. So this skull is quite the Cubone family heirloom. And wait, I've forgotten what I was talking about. Ghosts? Right, ghost. Alolan Marowak is a ghost, so that's good enough for me. Number 5, Sinistee. Now that we're halfway through the list, I think it would be a great time to take a break and enjoy a nice cup of Sinistee. Or perhaps not, because it tastes notoriously awful and is also allegedly capable of draining the life force out of the drinker, so I guess I'll just stick to delicious yet affordable Team PokeMart brand coffee. Now apparently a Sinistee is created when a lonely spirit possesses a cold unfinished cup of tea, which is a strangely specific condition. However, as a true connoisseur of Galarian breakfast tea, I know all too well that sad sinking feeling when you have forgotten about a cup of tea and then stumble back upon the cold remnants. A true Galarian horror story there. And I can only imagine that once these cold dregs are possessed, the Sinistee then makes it its life's mission, which is, would it be a death's mission? Is it alive? Is Sinistee even alive? Are ghosts alive? I don't know the answer to this question. But whatever it is, its life's mission, its death's mission, its afterlife mission, it's to take vengeance upon those who committed the crime of not finishing the tea. So never forget to finish your hot leaf water, you uncultured swine. Number 4, Aegislash. And Aegislash is a steel ghost type Pokemon that evolves from Honedge and Doublade, both of whom are also ghosts, but nobody cares because Aegislash is a much more better ghost, as it has a design that can really only be described as regal and expensive, something that valued customers of Team PokeMart are unlikely to be able to afford due to their low-paying jobs and lifestyles that consist primarily of pure squalor. So enjoy the mere sight of Aegislash while you can, dear customers, and it's also a very interesting Pokemon for use in battle due to an ability which is quite literally alluded to in its design, as this Pokemon can easily switch between defensive and offensive tactics at any time by changing its stance from shield to sword, which would have been very appropriate if it were introduced in Pokemon Sword and Shield, but no, instead it was X and Y. And for a bonus fun fact, Aegislash is also able to detect the innate qualities of leadership and is said to be able to recognize those destined to become a king or queen. Very similar to the idea of Excalibur, except this sword also comes equipped with a shield. So Excalibur, just like most Team Pokemon employees, has been made redundant. Meanwhile, we will move on to number 3, which is Dragopol. And now we have an absolute triumph of a Pokemon, a funky pseudo-legendary that made its debut appearance in Generation VIII, which I suppose is pronounced Generation Vi. However, it has an absolutely eye-catching design to say the least, with a lot of elements that I would go so far as to say that should not work as a concept, because I don't know, on paper a boomerang head with jet engines, T-Rex hands, and a tail that is bigger than the rest of its body seems a bit questionable. Oh, and let's not forget that the jet engines have smaller ghost dragons popping out of them, which is, it's a choice. What can I say though? Unlike other abominations of nature, Dragopol just takes these features and makes it work. And rather crazily, the design is based on a combination of ancient prehistoric amphibians combined with modern day stealth bombers. So that's right, it's a perfect juxtaposition of ancient and modern culture. And Dragopol knows this as well. I mean, just look at those smug eyes. It knows very well that it shouldn't exist, and it's just taunting you with its garbled perfection. collection. And I should say that the only reason that this Pokemon is placed at number 3 is that it could perhaps be a little bit more ghostly for my liking, since this is a list about ghosts and not military aircraft. That's scheduled for next week. So while yes, it does have a translucent and ethereal tail, not much else really screams ghost. Nevertheless, Dragopol's design is a stroke of either pure genius or pure madness. I'll let you decide for yourself. But in number 2, we have Mimikyu, and oh, Mimikyu. We now find ourselves with a Pokemon whose very existence is rife with terror and tragedy, which I suppose is always a good recipe for ghost story soup. And while it didn't quite make it to the top, Mimikyu is without a doubt the creepiest ghost Pokemon on this list, and that feat is accomplished by us never actually getting to see what it looks like except for a stray appendage here and there. And as a result, Mimikyu plays terrifying havoc with the imagination, as all good horror and thriller media does. The key is to keep your monster as hidden as possible, because what lies in the unknown is scarier than anything known. But let's talk about what we can see, which is the disguise, which is horrifyingly creepy as well. The disguise is a sinister twist on the most recognizable and one of arguably the cutest of Pokemon's, Pikachu, and having Mimikyu's disguise be a twisted patchwork of this evokes quite a nightmarish feel. However, the backstory for Mimikyu is more tragic and irony-filled than scary, and the reason Mimikyu must wear a disguise at all is because its true form will cause mysterious illness and even painful death to those that see it. And therefore, Mimikyu constructed a disguise to protect those around it, and chose to base it on Pikachu as it hoped that this would help it make friends. However, this heartwarming intent is immediately turned to heartbreaking, as the disguise is horrible, and thus has the opposite effect on those it encounters. Poor, lonely Mimikyu. And it will remain alone because we need to leave it right here and move on to number 1. And who else could it possibly be? It's Gengar. It's obviously Gengar. Gengar, the OG Gen 1 Pokemon with a design concept that still holds up today. A hulking, dark purple body thing, blood red eyes, and devilish grin. A grin which, while you can't tell what Gengar is thinking, signals that it is almost certainly not going to be good for you. This Pokemon also has a funky ability to hide in the shadow of any object, giving it a great degree of stealth and abundant opportunities to jump out at its victims, certainly fulfilling its horror duties. However, Gengar's reputation as a practical jokesmith and sense of mischievousness makes this ghost design much more multifaceted. In addition, Gengar and its glowing eyes will be imprinted onto the memory of all of the fans, as it was the first Pokemon seen in the opening moments of the Red and Blue games, as well as the anime where it was locked in battle with a Nidorino. Why Nidorino? Who cares? We're talking about Gengar. What even is a Nidorino? It's unnecessary is what it is. All we need is Chonk Ghost. Gengar is iconic. It has a great design, it is suitably creepy, and it is the epitome of the ghost typing. When you think of a ghost Pokemon, it is Gengar. That is the first thought that will always come to mind, and if it doesn't, then I propose you go home and rethink your entire existence, because something has gone very, very awfully wrong with you. And I suppose that kind of does it for this topic, which is a little bit awkward because this leaves us in the dark with nothing else to talk about. That's alright though, I'm sure that the power will be fixed soon before anything terrifying happens.